Okay. Now. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to go put this on live. So while I'm putting it on Facebook Live in a second, I want to know if anyone has any questions from the other night. I'll do a short recap and then we'll get rolling. We'll wait for a couple more people to come on here. And let me see more on this. All right, we're going to go to this part, share screen, and then day 2. Yep, inflammation. Got that. Go back down. Share screen. Okay. Guys should be able to see that now. And now I'm going to go to live on Facebook. So if you guys are wanting to watch these replays, they're going to be in the group. And this way, day 2. Are we the inflammation nation? I think we are. Now we're going to find out why we're the inflammation nation. And this is going to go on a group, and we got the free unfair advantage, free healthy me community right here. And we're going to go live, and then we'll get rolling. And if anyone's listening in, or if you're on Zoom and you're not participating, what you can do is, if you have a question, you could either do it in the chat or you can come on live. So that's coming on right now. Perfect. I'm going to minimize that box, and we're going to go back to this part and do the slideshow. All right, so I think we're ready to go. I have my pad and paper out just in case we have any questions. And inflammation. Are we the inflammation nation? Absolutely. Let's do a recap of last night really quickly. We eat too much, we eat too often, and sugar is, the ironic part is we need sugar for our body to function because we need our cells to make energy, but too much sugar causes major problems in the nervous system, in the cellular system. Every time we eat more sugar, we need to make insulin. Insulin pushes the sugar into the cells, and if it does that too often, like any process in the body gets resistant to that chemical, and it doesn't work anymore. That's what addictions are. That's what people who do alcohol and cocaine, they do drugs, they take one, and then they need 2 or 3 because the body gets used to it. Well, our bodies can get used to insulin. It starts to reject insulin. The sugar can't get in the cells. The liver has to deal with it. The liver converts sugar into fat. That's where your cholesterol comes from. That's where your waistline fat comes from. That's where your clogged arteries come from. So fat does not make you fat. Sugar makes you fat. The other problem with sugar is healthy cells can go back and forth between sugar and fat and for energy. Sick cells like cancer and disease cells can only burn sugar. They can't burn fat. So when you go on a lower carb diet that has less sugar, you're not feeding your diseases sugar, which makes them grow. But we do need some sugar because we need to keep our gut healthy, and the bacteria in our gut can only use sugar. So if you go on a low carb diet for too long, it can cause problems. That's why I like the adaptable lifestyle, going back and forth, a metabolic shift diet, going back and forth between fasting and eating carbs, and fasting and eating carbs. And the body don't get used to one mode. You still lower your insulin resistance, you reduce inflammation, and sugar, stress, diet, parasites, all these things cause inflammation. And inflammation is an immune response to the body. Inflammation doesn't just come out of nowhere. So what we're going to hear is that this is not a doctor-patient relationship, and I do not treat, diagnose, or manage diseases. Everyone is doing this on their own. And if anyone has any concerns, they should consult with their primary care provider or MD before they proceed. Oh, I don't know why that did that, but let me see back. So Daily check-ins and accountability. Most of you are like me. You have a busy life with family, business, kids, events, a never-ending amount of distractions. Time is important, and I have found that daily check-ins and accountability is the simplest way to get results. Every day at 1 p.m., a checkup pops up in the group, and you only need to do 3 things per day. How long did you fast? Water in ounces and exercise. If you want to share anything else, like what worked today, what didn't work, that's more than welcome, but less is more. The 80-20 rule, I use this a lot. The 80-20 rule means that 80% of your results come from 20% of what you do. So you don't have to do 100% of the things right. You have to narrow down, like, what's that 20% that's going to get me results? And you leave the 80% alone. That helps you not get distracted. That helps you not get off track. But the hard part is finding out what that 20% that works for you is. It might be fasting. It might be exercise. It might be a far infrared sauna. It might be a detox. It might be cleaning out your liver. And some of you have to understand that your problem didn't happen overnight. Diseases are processes that take time. I used to do an event at my office about chiropractic, but it was processes versus events. And it had, if it doesn't rain for one day, what is that? It's an event. If it doesn't rain for another day, that's an event. But after it doesn't rain for 2 to 3 months, that's a process that leads to a drought. It didn't happen overnight. It took a while, just like deserts take tens of thousands of years to develop. When mountains come up, they block the clouds from coming. This is what happens in California. And then Nevada on the other side in Las Vegas, doesn't get rain for a long time. Things start to dry out. It makes sand, nothing grows, and eventually you get a desert. That's a process that takes time. Well, your illnesses, your inflammation, your chronic tiredness, your problems with sleeping, your swollen joints, your problems with circulation, your skin problems, your hormone problems, they didn't happen overnight. Those are processes that take time. They don't happen overnight. And so you have to understand that when you start eating healthy, when you start dieting, when you start exercising, when you start drinking more water, you're starting to reverse the process that might have taken 10 years to happen, or even longer. It's not going to happen overnight. And you have to have patience. This is a process. That's where accountability comes in, is that you have to stick with the process long enough for it to work. And that's the problem with most people. They do not stick with something long enough to make it work. And that's a big problem that I have found with a lot of things. So inflammation, tenets of the group, keep it simple. Done is better than perfect. We're all in this together. Be a strong finisher, not just a strong starter. As you can see, this is not just a weight loss program. This is a new lifestyle, and the results can be permanent if done properly. Oh, I don't know why it does that, but going back. So inflammation and changing our lifestyle, habits, and accountability. If we're the inflammation nation, name me a problem that's not related to inflammation. And someone might say, well, what about depression? Well, the receptor, either your gut is swollen and you're not making enough dopamine or serotonin, or the receptors in your brain are swollen and the feel-good chemicals are not working on your brain because those receptors are swollen. It's an inflammation problem. Let's say an autoimmune problem, massive inflammation problem. Your immune system thinks your own body parts are foreign and it starts to attack them. Sciatica, swollen nerves in the back. But why doesn't the body heal? See, the question nobody's asking in medicine is, if the body's as smart as it is, it made you from 2 cells into 75 trillion cells. If you get a problem, how come your body isn't fixing it? Let's say you get an injury. How come some people can heal really quickly and other people take forever to heal? There has to be a reason. And one of those major reasons is inflammation, toxicity. And then eventually, once the initial processes of detox and dealing with excess sugar and toxins doesn't work, like your body tries to get rid of toxins through your lungs, through carbonic acid, through your urine, through uric acid, through your liver, it breaks things down into smaller pieces. When it can't deal with it anymore, it starts to store it in your fat cells and it starts to create inflammation. This is what the process happens. And then when you make inflammation, your immune system looks at inflammation as a threat. It triggers the immune system. And what happens is the immune system starts reacting to that swelling, and it makes the problem worse because that's what causes massive swelling. That was the difference between people who got really bad COVID and who didn't, who had an immune system that overreacted, who had already had comorbidities like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, overweight, obese, toxicity, all of these things that build up. And what happens is that eventually the body can't handle that anymore, and boom, it blows up. But it's very smart. The body never makes a mistake, in my opinion. So every illness and disease, every reaction that it has is perfect. And people get a little bit upset and take it back, like, well, how can you say that cancer or leukemia is? It's a perfect reaction to something that's going on, either physically, chemically, emotionally, genetically, and it's a reaction to something. And if the body didn't need it, it wouldn't get it. And so diseases are perfect reactions to unaddressed issues and stress. And that is my opinion. I've been practicing for 25 years as a chiropractor, and we do not treat and diagnose diseases for that reason, but I've seen miracles happen with people that people cure, but then I've seen people fall short who've done a lot of good things. And sometimes you scratch your head, like, how come somebody who goes on a detox diet and all of a sudden their disease is wiped out, and other people try so hard and they don't do it? Because there's a lot of components. There's mindset. In my own opinion, although environmental toxins and genetically modified food and all these things are big contributing factors, the biggest cause of inflammation by far is unaddressed emotional stress. And success also comes from making something simple and doing it consistently until it becomes a habit. And the mindset has to start shifting into, this is a permanent part of my lifestyle, that this is not just a 5-day challenge. And the first day is always a little long due to questions. We're going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter than the other night. So recap of day one, we already went over this. We need more water and minerals. Sugar is not only unhealthy, it's addictive. And we're trying to extend our window of eating to give our cells a break from eating and our gut a break from eating, so that it can help recover, it can detox, it can recycle the bad stuff. And, you don't realize it, but your gut is where 80% of your immune system hangs out. Your gut is where you make dopamine and serotonin and melatonin and all these chemicals that make us feel good. And if your gut is not healthy because you keep feeding it sugar and all the bad bacteria that get in there, and the antibiotics in food, and if you're not buying organic food, there's a lot of antibiotics in there. Water, if you're drinking public water, it's got medications. I went down to the waterworks and asked them, like, do you filter out everything? We can't filter out every medication. So whenever anyone takes medication and they pee it out, some of that's getting into the public water supply if you don't have a well. And you're having antibiotics and birth control pills, and you're having medications for cholesterol in small amounts. It's all in there. And if you're drinking that, you absorb some of it in your shower. Most people should have filters in their shower. They should have filters on their water filter to filter out the bad stuff that's in the water. And these are things that people are not aware of. All the chemicals that come in the foods and the additives that we add, and they just add more toxicity to the body. And then the body reacts by building inflammation to dilute it. And what happens is we blow up, our cells get swollen, our joints get swollen, our spine gets swollen, our nerves get swollen, our receptors, our hormone receptors on the thyroid and the adrenals and the reproductive organs, and everything gets swollen. The receptors don't work, and then the liver's fatty and toxic, and then nothing works, and we can't make energy properly. So when we can't do that, we're not motivated to exercise, we're not motivated to go try new things, and it's a never-ending cycle that leads to a lot of problems. A recap, I'm not even going to go over this, but calories versus carbs, and you could read over this, but just remember, when you go from a sugar burning to a fat burning individual, if you do fasting or healthier metabolic shift diets with healthy fats and longer windows of time of not eating and get your gut in the right place, When you start making energy out of fat, you start making 30 times less inflammation and 3 to 4 times the amount of energy production. I don't know what that was all about. Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah.
All right, there was a little glitch in the system. And if you go for 16 hours, after 12 hours, the last 4 to 6 hours after that, you start to make ketones, which produce 30 times less inflammation and 2 times to 3 times the energy production. Your brain prefers those energy molecules over sugar molecules, and you get into the system and into your cells without insulin, which means they can go right through the cell walls. Number 2, fat blocks the multiplication of viruses and bacteria. What happens with that? It's antiviral and antibacterial. When my wife had COVID, and she was one of the first ones in Dartmouth to be diagnosed with COVID, I started fasting right away. Just what I know about when teaching all these classes. I started drinking high-fat coffee with MCT oil and butter, and I did not eat anything. I didn't even have any symptoms. I didn't know that I had it. After 8 weeks, I went to the lab over in Plymouth, and I asked them, and they were offering, my insurance company said, "Oh yeah, you can take a test, a COVID test." So I went down and had an antibody test. This was not a regular pinprick or test your saliva or blood. This was a blood test to find out if you had antibodies for COVID. I had strong antibody response. I had COVID, and I didn't even know it. And I know it's because my body is healthy, my gut's healthy. When you have the good bacteria in your gut and in your body, there's no place for the bad stuff to multiply and grow. So this is a big problem. And inflammation and changing our lifestyle and habits and accountability, it takes about 21 days to undo a bad habit and 21 days to get into a new habit. So I call it like the 42 new you. The first 42 days of really working on it is undoing bad habits. So sometimes success is not adding new stuff, it's stopping the old stuff. So you don't always have to add stuff. Again, to make things simple, sometimes we have to stop doing the bad stuff, not start doing the good stuff. And a balance, because if you add too much things to your plate too soon, you're not going to do them. Like some people, if they start this kind of a program, shouldn't even be fasting for a long time because their bodies might be unhealthy enough, or they shouldn't be exercising. Like exercise is the least efficient way to lose weight. So a lot of people, that's all they know. Oh, I got to hit the gym more. It's not going to happen as fast as if you work on detoxing and working on your diet. And there are biohacks to reduce inflammation, improve gut health, improve brain function, nootropics and adaptogens and probiotics for your gut, and detoxes and supplements to clean out your liver, supplements to make your brain work better. You don't need all that stuff, but there are tools available to help. Just like I'm using these glasses as a blue light canceling glasses so that I don't have to get my melatonin production decreased. And so improve mitochondrial function. We haven't even gone into that. What is that? Mitochondria are the parts of your cells that make energy. And if you're not making enough energy in your mitochondria, that's where sugar or fat combine and form with oxygen and make ATP. That's gasoline to your body. That's where every cell in your body has to use ATP to work. Adenosine triphosphate, that's gasoline to your cells. If you're not making enough ATP, your cells and your functions are not going to work right. And again, your body being smart, if it doesn't have enough ATPs to support higher functions, what's going to happen? You get malfunctions of your organs. You get brain fog, because if the higher parts of the brain, the cognitive thinking that needs a lot of energy, it won't use it. And then you start to age faster if you're not making enough energy. You create inflammation and toxicity. And then when you make a lot of inflammation, your genetic expression gets affected because your body's DNA strands is like a keyboard. If you have good inflammation levels in your body and healthy blood and healthy environment to be in, it's going to activate the genes that make you live longer. And if you don't have if you have too much C-reactive protein, if you have too much toxins, if you have too much hormones in your system and too much medication and too much acid from too much protein and stress, it's going to activate the genes that make you age faster and decline faster, and your quality of life will be affected a lot. This is how much inflammation affects people, and they don't even realize it. And testimonial, one thing for me to say that this works, but my clients and people who have worked with me tell me how good my system works. It works because it's focused on building health, not by fixing symptoms, actually getting to the cause, which is inflammation, reducing toxicity, changing the way the cells make energy, increasing nervous system and hormone system function. Yeah, 44 pounds, 37 inches grown, down 7 points, body fat down 18 points to 12.9. This guy has a watch for REM sleep. His REM sleep got much better. Inflammation was gone. No need for lever aspirin for 3 months. No more more focus and leading to more mindful and purposeful life. This person was 30 pounds. My body heals from colds much faster than I started this. And that alone was motivation to keep following. My brain fog decreased. I sleep better at night. These were the surprising things. When I started getting testimonials, I thought it was going to be about weight loss, but people like, keep going, was just looking for more of a keep going and don't beat yourself up type of program, one that encompasses more than food. I loved all the tips, advice, topics, so much more about health and body. And people lost a lot of weight. Their brain fog decreased significantly. They were sleeping better at night. World has slowed down. Life doesn't seem to be stressing them out as much. How much better they feel burning fat and not sugar. Importance of mindfulness. That's the most important part is, again, thoughts create more inflammation than anything else. I was told from a long time ago, it's better to eat cheeseburgers and love them than it is to eat organic and have a lot of stress and worry in your life. And I truly believe that what you think about can affect the way food affects your body. So there's another dynamic, is that you better think about what you think about, and you have to change how you get triggered and how your body makes inflammation, how it responds to stresses, and not get triggered by everything the world throws at it, because we live in an over-information age. There's information everywhere on social media, in magazines, on the news, people chatting about how the economy is not so good, and what you focus on grows. If you focus on the bad stuff, more bad stuff's going to grow. Hold on one second. Brady, is everything all right? All right. So I have the same challenges that the rest of you have. I have 3 kids that live at home. I have a busy lifestyle. I run a business. I have a podcast. I run this. I have a big yard. We have a lot of movable parts, but we have to be balanced. And I realized that in my young 40s that I was starting to make not enough energy. I was tired. I was trying to take naps at work on the futon, and I just had lost my mojo from the 30s. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is what everyone says when you get into your 40s. But that's when I started saying, what can I do about it? And I started taking seminars and classes and reading books about making more energy. And then it led me down this path of metabolism, of epigenetics, of autophagy and biohacking. And I was an engineering student. I love to figure out how things work and hack into them and make them work better. This was a perfect setup. How do you hack into the human body? How do you hack in and make it perform better, make it last longer, make it age slower, make its brain work better? Because I'll tell you one thing, I don't want to live to 120 years old or even 70 years old and not know who I am and have trouble with memory and have swollen legs where I can't even move. That doesn't sound appealing to me. You might as well, send me off to heaven or wherever I'm going next, because I don't want to be around for it. But if I have a high quality of life, if I feel great every day, if I'm energized and I can still help people get healthier through chiropractic care and healthy lifestyle, that's what I'm in. So why are we the inflammation nation? We live in a toxic lifestyle. Too many carbs. We eat too much. We eat too often. We're around tons of toxic chemicals, from laundry detergents to soaps. They estimate that men and women absorb about 5 to 10 pounds of toxins from petroleum-based products, from all the makeup and soap and sanitizers you use and everything that you use and you're around, and the cologne and the deodorant where does it go when you put it on and your body absorbs it? And then if it has antiperspirant, it has aluminum in it, it's clogging up all your lymph glands under your arms, and they relate that to breast cancer and other problems through the lymph glands in people. And I get it. People don't want to smell, but guess what? When you start making less toxins, your sweat starts to smell less and you don't need as much deodorant. It's amazing. Why would you want to stop sweating? Because sweating is one of the ways you detox. And there's where our problem is. We think backwards. We're not thinking about the long-term health. So toxic chemicals, that includes, medications, that includes radon, that includes mold. I had a patient not too long ago who his neck was hard to adjust. I'm trying to adjust him. Nothing's working. And you know what happened? I said, you know what? This isn't like you. You better check your house. He sent me a picture of his closet filled with black mold. I had another girl come in today and I said the same thing. You got to home and check because she's been having a lot of chronic pain, inflammation, almost like Lyme disease like problems. And she, this person had some similar problems a long time ago. And are they coming back out again? Not sure. But her husband started having issues. It's similar and GI problems. And I'm like, you better check your house, because that's the first thing I think. I either think when you have symptoms that don't match anything, I think Lyme disease, parasites, or you need to have your house checked for mold or something you're exposed to that's toxic in your house. I mean, some people have in Dartmouth, there was not too long ago, PBCs that were buried in some of the yards that they found. And these things, old houses that have asbestos and other junk in them, and too much medication, microwaves. Is that Lincoln? Brady, is that Lincoln? All right. So too much medication, microwaves, genetically modified organisms, they're everywhere. They're saying it's not fake food, but guess what? Wheat and corn have been massively genetically modified. And if you don't know what that means, it means that they've changed the biology. They used to have to, they lose about 20 to 30% of their crops to bugs. That's what happens. And mold and things that eat plants. And they've been trying to solve this problem. So they used to have to spray chemicals around the plant, but they couldn't spray them on the plant because it would kill the plant. It would kill the strawberries and the blueberries and the wheat and the corn. So somebody came up with an idea. Let's genetically modify it. Let's make corn and wheat so that it's resistant to Roundup, and we can crop dust it from the top. We'd save a ton of money spraying around the bushes all the time. We'd save about 20 to 30% of our crops because now the bugs aren't, and the mold and bugs and aren't going to eat it. It's a win-win. Everyone wins, except for the people eating it. Because what happens when you genetically modify it? Your innate system knows the difference between fake corn and real corn. It might taste the same, it might look the same, but when it goes in your gut, what happens? It sits there, and your immune system, which is lining 80% of your immune system lines around the gut, says, this is not corn. This is not wheat. I'm going to attack it through the cell walls. And there is where your IBS, your leaky gut, your other problems occur from. And then what happens is when it attacks it and the cell walls get swollen, you don't absorb your nutrients properly. It's a breeding ground for more toxicity. And then if it has Roundup on that stuff that you're eating, it kills the good bacteria in the gut and the bad stuff grows back faster. What do you think happens then? You get dysbiosis. The percentage of good and bad bacteria is screwed up. Your body's immune system starts to attack it. Your gut bacteria is what converts, it converts amino acids or proteins into dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and melatonin and all these hormones and neurotransmitters and peptides that make your brain, and steroid-like peptides that bring down inflammation, they stop being made. And what happens now? Boom, it's a mess. And to make matters worse, your vagus nerve, which controls your rest and digest, it's your parasympathetic relaxed nerve, it's attached to your gut. It short circuits that nerve. And what happens? Now you can't think straight and your mood sucks and you don't know why. You're laying around unmotivated, unfunctional, tired, almost depressed like, and you're not happy. How many people have that? Probably about 150 to 100 to 200 million of the Americans right now. And that's why. And they're doing the genetic modification and they're shoving it down people's throat, and it's not right. And when toxicity gets into the body, we get an immune response, which causes inflammation. Inflammation comes from our immune system. We might be too toxic to work out, like I said before. And our immune system knows GMO corn and wheat are not real. Our immune system looks at toxicity as a threat. It gives an immune response, which causes inflammation, and inflammation comes from the immune system. There are many ways to reduce inflammation through lifestyle, reducing radiation. What is silent inflammation? Does anyone want to give in the chat, or if you're online? And let me check if anyone's else. Pause here. So let's see if anyone else is on here asking any questions. Okay. So let me see if that's on our page. And does anyone, no one's participating in the chat right now. Let me see where this page is. Let me see if anyone's written anything in the chat. Should be broadcasting live right now to the chat and the online. I don't see it though. Let me see. I don't know if anyone's online, but okay. So what is silent inflammation? If it doesn't show up, what I'll do later is what I will do is I'll put it onto a YouTube, and let me see if it's on there. Yeah, I think people are on there. Let's see. Yeah, 3 people are on there. So good. So at least people are on there. Let me get off of that. And so what is silent inflammation? The hidden killer. It's silent inflammation, simply inflammation that falls below the threshold of perceived pain. That's what makes it so dangerous. You don't take any steps to stop it. As it smolders for years, it takes decades, eventually erupting to what we call chronic disease. That is the basis of every problem. And it's called silent inflammation, which means it hasn't reached a point where it hurts, but it's affecting the function of your body, the function of your cells, the function of your immune system. It's screwing it up from the inside out. And now you can start to see why we get screwed up and we need to get on. Okay, I don't know why that's there, but everyone's still on and should have been recording already. I don't know why it took so long to come on. I'm still sharing the screen here. Okay, so it falls below the symptomatic approach. So everyone in this world, how you doing? You know, how would you define health or wellness? And everyone says, well, I feel good. Or you ask somebody who comes in like, oh, where have you been so long? Well, I feel great, doc. I haven't been around. Well, what does that have to do with anything? And then you take x-rays, and I had this happen this afternoon today. There's a guy I hadn't been in a while. He comes in every couple of years, and we took new x-rays after about 6 years that I haven't taken x-rays, and his curve is way worse. It's forward. He's got 2 giant bone spurs in his neck. It used to be a nice curve when he was coming in, and he's had no symptoms, so you haven't seen him. But what's happening is those joints are wearing out at an accelerated rate due to inflammation and due to being out of alignment. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but anyway, everyone's still on here. I can see everyone, so I'm just going to continue on into the share screen again. Okay, so you get the gist of it. Chronic inflammation and silent inflammation builds up over time, and then it's just not good for the body. Name me any disease or condition the body does not have an inflammation component. Pain, bursitis, migraine, sciatica, autoimmune, vertigo, fatigue, depression. So vertigo, the receptors in the ears or the cerebellum in the back of the brain, the spinal fluid builds up and you get pressure there and it causes vertigo. Fatigue, depression, anxiety, IBS, leaky gut syndrome, cirrhosis, gout, arthritis, tendonitis, cirrhosis, mental illness, hormone imbalance. The list goes on and on. PCOS. We went over some of these things last night. So does inflammation affect our genes, our aging, and what is epigenetics? Epigenetics in Latin means above aging. What causes aging? The unraveling of DNA strands. What plays a big factor in keeping our DNA intact? Lifestyle and reducing inflammation. The mitochondria, power generators of the cell. If you make more energy than you need, your body can heal. And it's all automatic. You have to know what to eat, the order to eat food in, what brands are better. You have to know how to heal your gut, supplements to take. You have to do the work. You have to fast and detox, drink enough water, and you have to do the work long enough to get healthy. And the sicker you are, the longer it's going to take, but that's what's going to happen. And what do most people do? They start something after a month and say, I feel worse. Or they go on a keto diet and they gain weight. Why do they gain weight? Because a lot of your toxins are stored in your fat cells. Your body is trying to protect it, the rest of your organs, and stores the toxins in your fat cells. And then what happens? You start burning fat, it releases the toxins, and your water, the body tries to retain water to dilute the toxins, and you gain weight. It's not about weight loss. It's about health. Your body's trying to fix itself. And then people, I don't know, the scale doesn't say anything. It's going up. Forget it. I knew this didn't work. And they stop. And that's the problem. So longevity, does inflammation affect our genes? With longer fasting, you start to make stem cells, which replace your old cells. You also go into autophagy. Your body starts eating aging cells, scar tissue, precancerous cells, and even illnesses and diseases that only can live off of sugar. You start to starve them, and the healthy cells can live. Why? Because diseases only have the ability to eat sugar. They absorb sugar at a 30-to-1 ratio over healthy cells. What happens when our body's wisdom does fasting? Or we start to eat less, and what happens is your body starts to clean out and recycle old cells, and then when these cells don't have anything to eat, they start to leave or they die. So parasites will say, I can't be here anymore. There's nothing to eat, I'm leaving. Or they just die because there's nothing for them to eat. That's what you're trying to make your bodies, if you want to heal anything, that's what you're trying to do. And in inflammation, when you have a strong immune response, your body can't heal, and it produces this inflammation. If you give it a break, it starts to settle down. It stops attacking the cell walls and the. All right. I think it came back on now. Okay, so let's do this one more time and share this screen, and we're almost there. So we already did that. When your body makes more energy more efficiently, your gut cleans out, you bring down inflammation naturally, and sometimes you don't need anything extra. You just need to get rid of the bad stuff. This is a little slideshow I'd love to have, and I do these in my detox programs because we have detox kits, parasite removal by Cellcore. I have availability. A lot of people's hidden health problems come from parasites, from toxins. We have sessions available if anyone ever wanted to do it. I do like $125 a session, and I can set people up with the right supplements, with the right things. And those one-on-one sessions are also available. I also do one-on-one for that price for people who don't want to work in a group. If you're not into the group session, I have a couple of openings available on Thursdays because that's my day off. I already have somebody that's starting that. But inflammation is self-destructive and self-perpetuating process. So look at this, environmental stimuli. So stress, radiation, oxidative stress from too much toxins from food, injuries, bacterial LPS from infection or leaky gut, food and environmental allergens, viral infections. Why did so many people have bad reactions to COVID? They already had inflammation and it made it worse. Consumption of simple sugars, consumption of corn oil and seed oil, I'll add in there. That includes canola oil and corn oil and soy oil and all those. And I only recommend a couple of oils. And even then, I'm starting to change my mind about some of the oils that we used to think are healthy because you have to know how they make them. Like avocado oil is made from the pits. It's not made from, just like olive oil. It's not made from the olives, it's made from the pits, and they have to squeeze. Imagine how many olives they have to squeeze to get oil out of it. It's processed too. And that can be toxic, and that can clog up your liver and cause you to not reduce inflammation as well. So we got to be aware of some of these things as we come along. And as I learn new things, I share them with my groups. So nutrient poor processed food diet with inefficient phytonutrition, which is plant nutrition, not enough antioxidants, not enough ALA, EPA, DHA, and GLA. ALA is omega-3s. EPA and DHA is also omega-3s, but that's from fish oil, and GLA is gamma lipoic acid. That's omega-9s. We have too many omega-6s from fried food and canola oil, and not enough 3s and 9s, and that screws up the membranes of the cells, and it allows the membrane permeability of the cells, allow nutrients in and toxins out. What happens then? Your cells start to make a ton of toxins because they're not getting the proper nutrition. This leads to the activation of NF-kappa B. If you know nothing else, NF-kappa B is the chemical that causes inflammation. And then it goes through this whole process of interleukin-9 chromosomes, liposomes, TNF. You don't need to know all this. Adhesion molecules, because you get increased expression of pro-inflammatory and anti-adaptogenic genes coding for production of all these things: adhesions, pro-inflammatory enzymes, lipox, and then boom, you get inflammation, poor health, pain, and disease. And this is the process of how your body makes inflammation. You don't need to know that. You just need to know that if you live a better lifestyle, you're going to make less inflammation. And that's the problem, solution, and system. You have to have a systematic approach to reduce this inflammation. And there's a lot of information, but you got to do it in simple steps. And I am telling you that people don't get results by knowledge. They get results by taking action, and they got to do the work. And what happens when life gets busy and the kids are sick and your workload is too high and you don't have someone to guide you through? That's when we go back to our old selves and we get overwhelmed. And that is why people don't have the results. They don't have someone to coach them through, like, hey, if you do this, I'll give you a little biohack. Like, some people's like, oh, I can't eat fish oil because I burp it up and I don't feel good. A lot of people don't know that you can freeze fish oils in the freezer and then they defrost past your stomach and you don't burp them up. And I'll give you one other one that a lot of people don't understand, that probiotics get killed in the stomach. And if you take baking soda with water first thing in the morning when you're not eating food, you should never eat probiotics with food. You take some baking soda and some water, you drink it, and then you take your probiotics. It's going to neutralize the stomach acid, and those probiotics will get into your system better. There's 2 biohacks for you for free. But these are some of the things that you work smarter, not harder, and it makes a massive difference on your inflammation and your health and your weight journey. So the problem, if you make more toxicity from the 3 T's, which is trauma, toxicity, and thoughts, you eat toxic food, sugar is toxic, stress is toxic and forces our cells to make more toxins. Inflammation and weight increases. Toxicity causes immune response that causes inflammation, and boom, this affects all levels of health, especially the nervous system, the gut, and the endocrine system. And then we have to manage our inflammation. What's the solution? You have to manage them or they'll make you sick. You either have reasons or results. This is my logo. This is my hat. I have rubber bands as reminders. This is the accountability part of my health program, is getting people to do the work, to show up to these meetings, to start actively participating. And you know what the problem with most people is? You go find the nearest mirror in the house and look into it. That's your problem. Your problem is that you go back to your old self. You don't stick with something long enough. You don't get, how bad do you want it and what are you willing to do to get it? You don't have a why. Like, my mother died, my uncle died. When are you going to get sick and tired of being your old self and say, finally, that I have to get out of this funk and I got to take charge of my life? I'm sick and tired of walking around like I'm 80 years old and I'm only 30 years old and I got chronic pain. And you know how tiring it is for me to hear the chronic stories, knowing that there's a solution that most people don't want to take care of. And don't even get me started on men. Women take better care of themselves. Men, they'll deny everything. They're irritable all the time. They take better care of their lawnmowers, their chainsaws, and their weed whackers than they do their body. They wait till the absolute last moment for everything. They don't do anything about it. Then they blame everyone else about it. And then they don't express emotions, because emotions must be expressed, not suppressed, until the last 2 weeks before they die. And then you hear about everything and they become like, it's amazing what I've learned being a doctor for the last 25 years of how people work. And I'm telling you that mindset and thoughts, people who are narcissistic, people who think that it doesn't apply to them, they're the sickest people out there. They blame it on everyone else. And so we have to deal with stress. We have to deal with diet. The easiest part is nutrition, getting your gut healthy. It helps your brain work better, which helps you manage your stress. But then ultimately you have to have confrontations. You have to learn how to unconditionally love. You have to learn how to live healthy and not get triggered by everyone. When I started realizing it's not my responsibility to heal everyone, I can put them in alignment. I can guide them down the right path, but it's ultimately people's decisions that decide their future. And if you look at people's habits and what they eat and drink and what they do every day, I'll tell you how successful they're going to be or not, because people that are willing to do that and stick with it are going to have success, and people that don't have success. Sorry, I get a little emotional about this, but I hear it all day long and I feel frustrated a lot of times because people have so much potential. You do not get rewards on potential. You get rewards on doing the work. And the factors in dealing with inflammation, you have to balance your hormones, you have to balance your food quality and your GMOs and your gut health and your toxic environment. There's a lot of stuff, but simple little action steps every day is what gets results. The best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The next best time is now. I love to use that stuff. And don't get healthy when you have to. Get healthy when you want to. Don't wait till it's too late, till it's too long, and do something about it and start looking at the long term. Like, this is a permanent lifestyle change, not a temporary, but I got to do this for the rest of my life if I want to live, especially if you've got a lot of health issues already. And there's two problems: losing weight and getting healthy, and then keeping it off and staying healthy. That's the harder part. Believe it or not, even though a lot of people struggle losing weight and getting healthy, the hard part is staying healthy, not going back to your old self. That's where accountability comes in. That's where an anti-inflammatory lifestyle comes in. Being reminded by these little sessions of, this is what you need to do. A lot of people, you'll see people in this group by the end of the week will have, some people will lose 5, 6, some people maybe even 7 pounds, because I gave them a list of instructions to do and they started doing it. But again, what happens in Thanksgiving when you start having desserts and stress happens and your aunt dies and then you get distracted and then there's financial issues over here. And now life gets messy and then we go back to our old selves. And it's unfortunate, but a lot of people do. The real problem is staying on track and having healthy habits long enough to get results. And daily check-ins, accountability, mindset, balance, physical, exercise and rest, chemical, what you eat, drink and breathe, emotional. What do you think about? How do you know you're at a point where you're emotionally in a good place? When healthy, good thoughts like, I got this, everything's going to be all right, this is working out perfectly as it should. And being okay with flow versus force. People try to force things too much instead of letting things flow. And then comes in the quantum physics and laws of attraction. What's attracting into your life? Whatever you put out manifests in. And you need to build strong foundations with pillars in each section. So a system, 6 essentials: what you eat, drink, exercise, rest, breathe, and think. 90% of success comes from the 6 inches between your ears. That's what you have to work on more than the 6 inches around your waist, because that's probably where the 6 inches around your waist came from. And again, it takes about 42 days, 21 days to unbreak a bad habit, 21 days to introduce a new habit, and then setting targets and not goals. The mindset has to shift from short to long term. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change. Like everything, instead of everything's a disaster, everything's unfolding just as it should. And that's where the mindset has to shift. I have no control over this. So any questions from today or yesterday? How can you reduce inflammation? My system has that built in. Nervous system adaptability, build health, and the body is less likely to get sick. Start using your emotions like you do money. Don't waste it on stupid stuff. Is engaging in this conversation going to be productive? Learning how to say no and set up boundaries. I had another talk with a lady today where, you know, it was an interesting case where she's been having vertigo and dizziness and all these problems. I've been adjusting, it hasn't been helping. And I asked her, is there anything else going on? Yeah. What's going? Well, you know, her husband had died of like 15, 20 years ago, and she adored this guy. It was perfect for her. She married another guy, and for a while it was good, and then it wasn't so good. And now this person is not allowing her to have her friends over and play cards and do other things. And what's happened is it's causing her a lot of stress. And now it's causing, he doesn't like to go out. He's very introverted. And so it's causing her a lot of stress. And now that stress is building up toxins. And since it's unaddressed emotional stress, what is the body doing? It's giving her symptoms so she can't think of it. Because if you're, wherever you are, if your body deems your thoughts are a higher risk of dying than a symptom, it's going to give you symptoms as the solution to your thoughts. So if you have unaddressed emotional stress, your body will give you sciatica. Why? Because now you don't have to think of your stress. You're thinking of your pain in your rear end that's going down your leg, or your vertigo forces you to not think of, oh my God, this is going on. And people that are worrywarts, people that have anxiety and depression, they have a lot of symptoms because your body's trying to protect you from your thinking. That's what symptoms are. I've been a chiropractor for 25 years. We're nervous system specialists, and I am telling you that that's how it works. And all the doctors want to do is try to treat your symptoms. We'll give you a cortisone shot in your back. Well, why don't you find out why my L4 disc is blown out and why it keeps going down my leg? I don't know, but the shot will help you. And what happens when you get the shot? Now the pain goes away. What do? You go back to your old behavior. You start lifting weights like crazy at the gym and the CrossFit gym, and now your back blows apart. Why? Because you didn't even feel the pain. Your body tries to protect you from yourself, because when you have pain in your knee, what happens? You don't walk so much, and that makes you so that you don't hurt it. And then if you get cortisone shots, what are you doing? Now you go out and hurt it because you use it more. Oh, this is great. I can move around, do whatever I want. That's treating the effects and not the cause. And you know, it's unfortunately, but that's the way things work. So I am going to stop the screen share there. I am going to allow anyone who wants to come on or has any questions so far about today. I think there's like, let me see. There's quite a few people. There's like 11 or 12, and Jackie and Paula and Julie and Marcy and Sherry. I don't know if anyone has any questions, but I'm done talking here. I think we went over a lot, and you know, I get emotional about these because it brings up, you know, every week the problems. Oh, let me share you one more story here before we go. You know, me and my dad were talking today, and what we've noticed is that right around when the wildfires started, we started noticing all these chronic problems. There's been a ton of heart problems lately, AFibs, arrhythmias. I've never seen so many young women who have heart monitors on lately. And when you ask them, and around that time, you know, a month or two ago, when those wildfires and that train derailed and there was a big explosion and all these chemicals went up, and then they had to spray the forest with these chemicals, all these toxins were getting released in the air, blown our way. And then everyone started having rashes, eye problems. Their eyes were tearing and dried out. They had trouble breathing. They had asthma. They had problems with sciatica and chronic pain, their knees. I've never seen so many hip replacements recently, knee replacements, AFibs, ablations, crazy teeth problems, inflammation, swollen gums, headaches, vertigo, and the list goes on and on. It seemed like it's been a bad year already. Why? Because we had a mild winter. It didn't kill off the plants. All the allergies come in April, cause massive inflammation. And then we had a lot of rain. Usually by this time of year, the lawn is burnt and the plants aren't growing because it's dry and hot. What's happened? It's been raining every week, and it keeps growing. The ragweed is coming out right about now, which is why a lot of people are getting migraine headaches. So our internal environment has to be healthy, and our external environment have to make our body adaptable to it. And then if you do the same thing all the time for too long, your body gets used to it and it's not as effective, which is why you have to mix up your diets. You have to rotate through fasting. You have to rotate through different times. You have to, do a vegetarian diet for a week, maybe do a carnivore diet, maybe do a Mediterranean diet, maybe do a Whole30 for a month. Try supplements on and off, knowing when to take them. There's strategies to all this. It's just not enough time in the day to go over everything, but these are the things that you can do to really maximize your health. Anyway, I think I am done for tonight, unless anyone has any questions. Let me just check online to see if anyone wrote anything in here. Look carefully at what I ate today. Okay. Yeah, we just heard a big boom outside. I don't know what that was, but there's 6 people on. Let's see. All right. We just heard a big boom outside. I don't know what that was, but there's 6 people on. Let's see. All right, Eva, thanks for sharing. All right, Jennifer, Francisco. Okay, a couple people on. Thanks so much, these really love the info. Now, action. Oh yeah, love it, Paula. And simple, be kind to ourselves. Let's not beat ourselves up. If you have 50 pounds to lose, no, you have 1 pound at a time to lose. Little baby steps. Don't focus on the scale. Focus on getting healthy. You always win when you focus on getting healthy. If you focus on a particular outcome, sometimes you get disappointed, and then that messes with your brain and it causes a lot of stress. And then some people are health freaks. They try too hard. That can cause a lot of problems as well. So that's big booms outside. So anyway, I am going to head out. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone has a good night, and you could post your questions below if you have any.